Hello and welcome to the Daily Meal for Friday the 2nd of December 2022. And guess what? Despite it only being the 2nd of December 2022, Millwall have completed their first signing of the January transfer window. Yes, indeed. Here we go, this young man here. Millwall agreed January deal for Shamrock Rovers attacker Emakhu. This is from londonnewsonline.co.uk, but it's all over the place. So let's have a read of this. Millwall have agreed a January transfer for highly rated Shamrock Rovers attacker Aidomo Emakhu. The South London Press understands that reports in the Irish media reporting the Lions have won the race for the 18-year-old are correct. Emakhu has been linked with a number of clubs in the Championship and also Italy, with Lecce muted as admirers. Wolves and Southampton have previously been credited with monitoring his progress. He can play in a number of offensive roles and has been called up to the Republic of Ireland under-19 setup. Millwall view Emakhu as a player with big potential but also one for the future. He has scored in the Europa Conference League, Europa League and Champions League qualifying this season. Aidomo Emakhu has played his last game for Shamrock Rovers, with his destination believed to be an English club, reported the Irish Mirror in November. Yeah, I told you that at the time, didn't I? Mirror Online has learned that the talented 19-year-old striker said his goodbyes to teammates in the dressing room on Sunday after the Rovers' final league game of the season. This is from that story still in November. The Irish League goes from February to November. They're done and done. So he's that's it. Emakhu juggled full-time football with obtaining his leaving certificate, which students in Ireland take between the ages of 16 and 19. So like A-levels, I guess. So he was doing his A-levels and playing football at the time. It was tough, but it had to be done, he said. Not a lot of lads get to play full-time football and focus on the education side of it as well. I'm very grateful to my club and my school, Moyle Park College and Shamrock Rovers, combined and communicated very well in terms of helping me make sure I was keeping up with my studies and the classes I missed for training. I got to college from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and I was in school from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. and it was repeated every day. It was tough to balance education and football, but the support of the club really helped me. Sometimes I felt a bit drained. I felt it was affecting me on the pitch, keeping up with my studies, being able to train full time, but as well. But it was only for a couple of months. So there you go. He very shrewdly doing studies as well, A levels, college work, whatever you call it, and juggling that and football as well. So what's happening now? So he's signing for Millwall in January. Now, why is that? Is he coming to college in London? Is he going to university in London? University of Greenwich or something like that? He thought, well, I might as well sign for a football club in London. Who's going to take me? Is that why he's come there? Don't know. Is he trying to have a go at playing football full time now? Because of Shamrock Rovers, I think they're part time. He may have been getting some money from that, but because they are a big club, they won the league. I think the past 2 seasons they were in the European. But let's have a look and see. This is Aidomo Emakhu from his page from WhoScored.com. He's 19 years old. He had his birthday in October. So there you are. He's a midfielder, and here are his appearances. I think this is just this season, or it may be just overall. So he hasn't started many games. He's got one start here, one start there, one start there, one start in the league, one start in the Conference League, 3 substitute appearances in the Champions League, 21 substitute appearances in the Airtricity Premier Division in Ireland, 1 start and 2 substitute appearances in the Europa League. And you see he scored 1 goal in Champions League qualifying, 1 goal in the league, and 1 goal in the Europa League. So overall, if you basically add up all his appearances, he's got 30, got 3 goals, he's got 5 yellow cards. And that's all we get from this, because obviously that league isn't covered in much detail on this stats page. They just got the basics, the starts, the goals, and the cards. But if we go over here, we can see his matches. This season, obviously, the season starts in February, and he started in this game, which I think is the Super Cup, Irish Super Cup, or Community Shield, whatever you call it. It's the cup winners versus the league winners from the previous season. He played 76 minutes in that, and his team Shamrock Rovers won that. I think either on penalties or after time. Do not know. Don't really care. No offense. But you can see, if you look on the right hand side, you can see how many minutes he played. Not many. Not many at all. Like literally, he had a little spell in May where he got half of an hour of football. Not half of not. He got half of football, basically half the game. 45 minutes, 46, 44. And in those two of those games, he got booked. These are all league games. Then we get to July, after season's been done, and then they start playing in Europe, which is good for them. That's why they've done. Irish teams have done quite well in Europe, because they've changed this summer league system. Seems to be quite decent for them. They're doing a lot better than they used to do. And you can see, so in July he has his little spell where he scores in the league against Drogheda United in a draw. He scores in the Champions League qualifier against Ludogorets Razgrad. Comes on, gets 12 minutes on the pitch, scores a goal. And then in the Europa side, I imagine they didn't. I guess they didn't go through in that time. He didn't play in the. He played in the Champions League qualifier against the Hibernians, which I believe is a Maltese club, not the Scottish club. Because the Scottish club is called Hibernian. Hibernians is a Maltese club. They went through on that. He played in that, coming off the bench again. In the next round against Ludogorets, he played in one of the games and scored. And I guess in the other one, he's not here, but I guess they didn't end up going through because they enter Europa League. And he plays against Scoopy, and he scores, which is probably the winning goal, because they end up winning 2-1, and he got one of the goals, and he's only been on the pitch for 9 minutes. And that's it. That's his little. So in July and August, he's had a little goal scoring run, which is, I don't know if that's because school was out and his mind was a bit clearer because he didn't have a lot of schoolwork to do. Maybe it was that. Maybe the sunshine, which is, if it's the sunshine, then it's not really going to help when it comes to your walk. You don't play in July and August. You play in the winter league, so we'll see how he gets on there. But you can see final game, 22 minutes off the bench against UCD, University College Dublin, on the 6th of November. So over a month ago, that was his last game. So not really playing that much. So you would think. Now here's the thing: the top players in the Irish League are coming to the English League. That's where they come, and they're doing quite well. They're doing all right. They're all over the place. Milton Keynes, here, there, everywhere. They're there. I don't think this is a signing for the first team. It might be that he thinks, well, he's not getting the game time. Why is that? And he might as well. Well, why am I here? Let me go to London and try my hand at playing for a team there. And I think if you're in Dublin, even though they are their own country now, they still look to London. I think there's something over there. The streets are paved with gold over there. I can get something out of that place over there. So why don't I go there and try to get it? So yeah, a lot of Irish still moving to London, moving to England in general, especially the footballers who are very good enough. And but like I said, I think it looks like this is one for the under 21s. He's only 19. He's going to be 20 in October 2023, so long way away. And he's going to come and try and push on and develop. And but as we've seen, if you're playing in the under 21s and you're good enough, you're gonna get promoted to the first team. You're not going to be held back. There is a standard. It's not going to be. You're not going to be given it on a plate. There is a standard you need to meet, but you will be given a chance in the first team. So we will see about that. Now, one player who has been given many chances, he's played 700 games over a career filled with entertainment. That is Tony Craig there. Now, we've got an interview with Tony Craig in the South London Press, the London News Online.co.uk. 700 game veteran Tony Craig on underdog mentality, academy coaching return to Millwall, and how Palace boss Warnock helped seal Den return. So, the other week, he reached 700 games in English professional football, which is, I think it puts him in like the top 25 of all time. I did have a look on Wikipedia. I think he is like of all time up there. I think Peter Shilton has got like 1,000 or so, but there's quite a few players up at this level. I take great pride in clean sheets. Of course, I wish I was more graceful in that and I could take players on, be the striker and get all the glory, but I know my strengths and I certainly know my weaknesses. I've worked hard on those over the course of my career. What you get with Tony Craig is honesty on and off the pitch. It's part of the reason the former Millwall captain is still going strong at the age of 37 and recently made his 700th first team appearance. Sometimes you're the player that you are, said Greenwich-born Craig, who won 2 playoff finals in lines. Will I change it? No, because I've loved every minute of it. I've loved those tackles and doing the fist bumps after the big ones and getting the ball in the face or wherever you can. I've always put my body on the line, as a lot of people look back and say he's one of those players who gave absolutely everything. There he is there, looking very young. Very young. In football, you have highs and lows, but first of all, it's a pleasure and a privilege to be in the game as long as I have. It's something I love doing and dreamed of doing as a kid. I'd have been happy to get one appearance, so to get 700 is beyond my wildest dreams. My family have been behind me all the way. They've been on this journey with me. So what would Craig, raised in Thamesmead and a Millwall fan, say are the key things that have given him such longevity? Hard work and dedication, he responds. I've dedicated my life to this game from day one to now. I've sacrificed stuff off the field. I've missed a few big nights out with the boys to put myself in the best possible physical condition I can. I can look back and have no regrets. Of course, I've had bad games where I can look at myself in the mirror, my head held high. The bad moments have made me the man I am today. It's made me stronger and thicker skinned. When the bad times come, is when you've got to take it on the chin, man up, persevere, work hard and believe in yourself and that you can turn it around. Thankfully, I've had great times too and thoroughly enjoyed them. When Craig left Millwall for the final time in early 2018, signing for Bristol Rovers, then Den boss Neil Harris backed him to be back in a coaching or managerial capacity. Craig has completed his UEFA A and B badges and put on some sessions at Crawley Town, who he joined in August 2020. He will soon start doing coaching at Millwalls Academy. It's my turn to give back to the club, said Craig. They gave me a hell of a lot. I was a 15-year-old boy when I first discovered. I say the word boy, very naive, very young, stars in my eyes. When I left, I was a man. I've still got an 18th month contract at Crawley. When the time is right, I'd love to go into any club in any sort of capacity and work in the first team environment. But you know, football, you don't know what will happen from day next. At the moment, I want to concentrate on my football and do those sessions a couple of nights a week in Millwall Academy. I'm very grateful to you, Scott Fitzgerald, for letting me do that. Craig has worked under so many managers, especially during the first of his 3 stints with the Lions. Dennis Wise's departure saw a lack of continuity with the likes of Steve Claridge, Colin Lee, David Tuttle, Alan McLeary, and Nigel Spackman, all moving on. I've always been the underdog, said Craig. I know I've not been the most pleasing on the eye, but I will outwork anyone. Sometimes the club suits you. I was lucky with where I started. Kenny Jackson was superb with me. He always kept me on my toes, and he never really praised me. He isn't a man of many words, but when he did give praise, I knew he meant it. Neil Harris gave me the captain's armband, and it's something I'll cherish forever. I walked up the steps to Wembley to lift the trophy. It's a moment that, even now I'm talking about it, it's giving me goosebumps. I won't lie, sometimes I sit down with my boy now and I put the matches on. He's 5 and he loves his football. Craig was released by Wimbledon at the age of 15 under unsuccessful trials at Charlton and Gillingham. He went to an exit trial at Watford's training ground and had an offer to go to America or a chance to try out at Mansfield Town. Craig's father had a friend who knew Dave Memmott, who was at Millwalls Academy. Sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know, said Craig. I'm forever grateful to Dave for giving me that trial. Sometimes you turn up a place and your face fits it's meant to be. They were looking for a left back, which was perfect. I had Kevin O'Callaghan and Alan McLeary, who turned me from a mute to someone who's very vocal, puts his opinions across. Andy Massey helped me out tremendously as well. Craig made his debut in a 3-3 draw at Forest in April 2003. He played 67 minutes and was booked. Then he scored at the Den a 2-0 victory over Coventry. It was a full house at the City Ground, said Craig. Some players took me under their wing. Darren Ward, Stuart Nethercott and Neil Harris. They told me to enjoy myself, go and express myself. There was no pressure on me. I scored on my own debut at the Cold Below Lane end. I used to sit that end as a kid. I keep using the word dream, but I've lived the dream and I'm living it still. Mark McGee and Steve Gritt were great with me. They guided me as a fullback to defend first and do overlaps, teaching me about the timings of the runs. There was a lot of turmoil after the Dennis Wise era. Theo Fafiti sold the club. There was a lot of managers in a short period of time. It was a tricky time for the club as a whole. I don't think they knew what direction they were going in. We had a good number of owners in that time as well. I just knew I had to apply myself, make sure I was in the eye line of any new manager coming. When I played, I had to take the chance. You never knew when the next one is going to come. Craig signed for Crystal Palace in June 2007 for an undisclosed fee, but by the following April he was back with the Lions, initially on loan and then permanently that summer. Willie Donachie was our manager at that time in the season. We had finished at Millwall. I played about 35-40 games and I'd done particularly well in a struggling side, said Craig. Willie gave me a phone call out of the blue. I thought it was to offer me a new contract, and he said we had a bid from Crystal Palace and we're going to accept it. I knew the ramifications that could cause me living in the predominantly Millwall area and being a Millwall boy. I knew all about bribery. I thought it was too soon for me, if I'm perfectly honest, but when you've got the manager and the club saying they want the money to sign Ryan Smith, then sometimes you've got to go. The decision was out of my hands. At that start, it all went well at Palace. I played 14 games, then we had a change of manager. Neil Warnock came in and I dislocated my shoulder. They signed Clint Hill, who was a very, very good player, and more importantly, a top geezer. He cemented his place in the team. By the time I got back, we were in contention for the playoffs. I knew I was going to get a look in. Neil Warnock was brilliant with me. He sorted out the loan move back to Millwall. I had Millwall, Brighton and Swansea. Before I even opened my mouth, he said, I know what club you want to go to and I've already sorted it out. They're expecting to see you tomorrow morning. Craig made 52 appearances as the Lions reached the 2009 League One final, losing 3-2 to Scunthorpe United. Where are they now? The South Londoners went one better the following campaign, ending 3 years outside of the Championship with a 1-0 win over Swindon. Craig was forced off just before half-time with a broken metatarsal. There's a pattern. If I lose in the playoff final, then I'm guaranteed to go up the next year, said Craig. I'd never thought I'd play at Wembley. I went there supporting England. I've been here watching finals. But I played there 5 times in my career. Maybe it would have been a season too early for us in 2009 because we adapted very well to the Championship when we did get there. Harris talked about Craig unfairly shouldering blame from some of the club's fan base after the 2016 playoff final loss to Barnes. Game 12 months later, and the Lions prevailed over the National Stadium. Steve Morrison, the man, a moment as they edged past Bradford City with Craig skippering the side. The Barnsley game was my first start in 6 months at Craig. I was out for a long time with a knee injury before that. I was still finding my feet in games. I ideally needed 2 or 3 under my belt. Byron Webster, unfortunately, got an injury in a warm-up, so I was thrust in the spotlight straight away. But I chucked myself into anything. It was a game that didn't go well. Everything that possibly could go wrong certainly did. That's the beauty of football. People are entitled to their opinions. Some people will think you've had a good game, and some people won't. Those criticisms I took them on the chin in this game. Nothing's going to be smooth. Some things are fate. Next year, I felt the script was already written. There were too many things over the season that went for us that could have easily gone the opposite way. When we lost, the other teams around us lost. Southend pushed us the whole way, and the game at Bristol Rovers was a mental one to be involved in. Hutch scoring in the last 5 minutes, with Millwall needing to win, to take 6th place on a final day. I remember speaking to my wife afterwards and saying we'd gone through every possible emotion. I told her that I thought the script was written. It's easy to say that now, but I honestly did. Craig moved to Bristol Rovers on a free transfer in February 2018. In total, he played 324 times for the Lions. He had made 8 appearances in that championship season with James Meredith first choice. Harris wanted Craig to stay at least until the summer. That's why I've got the numbers I've got, said Craig. I've never been happy sitting on the bench or not travelling. I'm from a working class background. And my dad says, go and earn your money, son. So I've had that instilled in me. I'll get frustrated if I work all week in training and then there's nothing at the end of it. I could easily have stayed and had a smooth transition to coaching the youth team at Millwall, but I want to play. That was a tricky decision, I won't lie. One, I'm at the club I've supported, but 2, I'm leaving my wife and 2 kids in London while I'm in Bristol. My lad was a newborn at the time. It wasn't an easy discussion. That was hard work for my wife on her own. My wife was fantastic. She said, go and follow your dream. It was a great 2.5 years at Bristol, which I look back on with great fondness. I've leaned on my family. They've kept me grounded. The advice they've given me has been invaluable. I can't thank them enough. I will never be able to repay the faith they put in me and the sacrifices that they have made. So yeah, wasn't that interesting there? Tony Craig, maybe future Millwall manager. Maybe. I don't know. What do you think? So, moving on to today, to the here, to the now, to tomorrow. TV Spotlight gives Millwall players extra motivation to impress at Sunderland's Stadium of Light. This is from LondonNewsOnline.co.uk. Gary Rowett speaking about tomorrow's game. So Gary Rowett reckons the fact that Millwall will be the only televised domestic football fixture tomorrow can act as extra motivational fuel. The Lions' lunchtime trip to Sunderland has been selected for Sky Sports coverage. The 2 clubs slotted the fixture in a week earlier than the rest of England's second tier, who resume on December the 10th. The match was originally due to take place in September, but was postponed after Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II passed away. Mill's match will be finished before the World Cup last 16 tie between the USA and the Netherlands kicks off at 3 p.m. Which is very good because I'm sure Mr. Zion Fleming would love to watch that game and cheer on his home country. It's good motivation for the players on top of the usual motivation, which is to keep the unbeaten run going and get the 3 points, said Lions boss Rab. You've got eyes on your injured players are aware of that. Players usually have a little bit more zip around their performance. Absolutely no excuses. We've prepared well and we haven't had lots of games around it. We've got to go there and see if we can get back into the swing of things and quickly and effectively. Rowett opted to keep his squad in the UK during the shutdown. They played a den friendly last weekend against Bromley. Sunderland returned earlier this week from a training camp in Dubai. Ooh. I'm hoping some of our players have seen that because we've had cold weather training, said Rowett. I found it's very hard to get good quality work in and the right type of games. We've stayed behind in the freezing cold and the rain. Hopefully that stands us in good stead travelling up to the northeast. Indeed, it's good freezing now, isn't it? The wind's turned. The wind's coming in from the north. They reckon it might snow on Tuesday. But tomorrow it's going to be fucking freezing as well. especially at 12:30. So there you go. Team news ahead of the game. This is from southwarknews.co.uk. Obviously, we know a little bit about this already, the Tyler Berry situation. The Lions will be without Emakhu and Ryan Leonard for Saturday's match. Garrett is expecting to make a late call whether Tyler Berry will be involved in Saturday's match against Sunderland. The forward picked up an illness towards the end of the World Cup break, meaning that he missed all of the Lions' early training sessions ahead of the friendly against Bromley. He returned earlier this week, without saying that the 21-year-old would be unavailable to start the Stadium of Light. However, there's still a chance that Berry could be involved off the bench, with the manager labelling it as 50-50 in regards to his situation. I think it's touch and go, the Millwall boss told us today. He's training but still feeling the effects of being ill for 7 to 10 days. So here's one we'll monitor over the next 24 hours and make a decision. It's one where ideally he would have been fit and played in training. We could have guaranteed to be able to give us something, of course. Tyler Berry gives us something a little bit different from the start of the match. But we still have to make sure that he's okay. I would say he's 50-50 at this moment in time. Ramit added that the same sort of suspects aren't quite ready, confirming that Emakhu and Ryan Leonard will be unavailable. However, he confirmed that the rest of the squad was fit and ready to travel up to the North East. From a team perspective, well, at least we've got a chance to get a little bit of continuity. There's 2 or 3 that are pushing for a starting position over the friendly games that we've had. So there you go. Latest from Garrett on the injury situation. Now, let's get into the game. Now, quite remarkably, Mill Tickets on Twitter posted up that there will be 884 Mill fans trip up there tomorrow for this game, which is incredible because you've got to consider this is the tickets for the original game were cancelled and you got refunded. It's not like people bought tickets for now they're stuck, they have to use them. No, this is like they resold the tickets. They cancelled everyone's original tickets and then they resold them. They've managed to sell 884 for a trip to Sunderland. So well done, those of you going up there tomorrow. Fantastic stuff. Especially the ones going up on the coaches, which leave the Den at 4 a.m. Oh my god. So there you go. Now, we haven't played Sunderland that many times. This is the head-to-head from 11v11.com. You can look here. So we've played them at Sunderland about 20 times-ish. We've won 3 times. We've mostly lost there. It's a sea of red. It's an absolute sea of red. So obviously, 37 we played them in the FA Cup, and we didn't play them against in 1971. And that occasion we actually beat them. That was our first win. So you thought, well, first league game up there, away, we win 1-0. Happy days. And again later that year, we drew 3-3. But then just the rest of the 70s, a sea of red. We won again in January 1986, a 2-1 win. And then another load of red. And then 2 draws, one in the League Cup. A 6-0 thrashing, December 1995. Ouch. And then the third and final win in 2003. We lose 2004 in the league. Obviously, we won up there 2004, 4 for the 4th. The big game at Old Trafford. But last time out, 2017, so quite a while ago now, 5 years ago, was a 2-2 draw. So this, obviously, as you would expect, because it's a massive trip from Millwall to Sunderland, whenever we've made that trip over the years, we've only been up there and won 3 times. And 2 of those were 1-0 wins. Kind of interesting. A 6-0 thrashing and a 6-2 thrashing as well in 1992, January 1992. So obviously going up there in a freezing cold, even though Rout said, yeah, that's great, doesn't seem to help us. December 1995, lose 6-0. January 1992, lose 6-2. Yeah, not the best situation. Although in December 1971, we drew 3-3, so you never know. You never know, but it doesn't look that good for us up there. So let's get into recent games. If we switch this to home versus away, this is from whoscored.com. So for some reason they're only doing the last 4 games, not the last 6 games. One of them is the FA Cup game, and that seems to be one of our 2 wins. So the last 4 times we played Sunderland away, can you count that as on a neutral ground? That wasn't at Sunderland's ground, so I'm not really going to include that. So the last 3 trips to Sunderland, we've drawn 2-2, we've lost 1-0, we won 1 in 2003. And you can see, so we've scored 3 goals, we've got 1 yellow card, and they've scored 3 goals and got 3 yellow cards. Not a high scoring event, really. If we scroll down, so here's the table as it stands now. We are, of course, 6, but they are 15. You think, well, that's a massive difference. That's only 4 points difference. We've got 31 points, they've got 27. So everyone's obviously looking at us and saying, well, if this is our game in hand. We win this, we go up to 4th. Easier said than done, my friend. But here's the thing, they'll be looking at it as well. It's their game in hand as well. They'll be looking at it as if they win this, they will jump up the table and they will only be 1 point behind us. Probably with a better goal difference, unless they only win 1-0. So bear in mind that. Now, in terms of the home team, oh shit, this is interesting. They are one of the worst home teams in the league. They've only got 10 points at home, 2 wins, 4 draws. They've only scored 10 goals, but they only conceded 10, which isn't that many. It's around about one goal per game, having played 9. So this is interesting. So I would imagine that most of their points are picked up away, shall we? Yes, they are the third best away team in the league. Now this was similar to the stats I showed you for Preston. Preston are dog shit at home and very good away. This is filling me with some kind of expectation that we might be able to win this game now. This is pretty much similar to the Preston game. Preston are, I think, the best away team in the league and one of the worst home teams in the league. Quite the opposite of Millwall. You see Millwall here. We are the 23rd in the league table for away fixtures. We are absolutely dog shit away. When you think, oh no, that's not good because this is an away game. And then you click on this and you go, oh, Sunderland are one of the worst home teams then. So you got one of the worst home teams in the league versus one of the worst away teams in the league. Bazinga. Something's going to happen. Not only that, but they've lost the last 2. They've lost the last 2 home games. And Millwall, I believe, what are we on away games? 1 win and 1 draw. So yeah, there you go. If we click that, and then if we click that, we'll get the last 6 home games for Sunderland and the last 6 away games for Millwall. So, last time out, they lost to Cardiff. Oh my god, Cardiff aren't very good, and they lost to them at home 1-0. They then got absolutely smashed by Burnley 4-2. Burnley a pretty decent team, so that's understandable, but they did score 2 against them. They then scored 2 again in the game before that against Wigan, but conceding 1 again. Wigan. Previously to that, they had 2 0-0 draws, which is interesting, and they beat one of the worst teams in the league, Rotherham 3-0. So interesting stuff. So you would imagine after those 2 0-0 draws, did somebody say we can't keep playing like this? We need to be more attacking. Then they did against Sunderland, against Wigan, and against Burnley, and one worked and one didn't work. And then they tried to change it back. I don't know. I'm not Not going into that much detail. I'm sure you can probably find out. But for Millwall, you can see our first clean sheet away from home against Birmingham, and then our second away win of the season against Preston, which first half it wasn't going too well, and then fair play to Garrett, he changed the formation a couple of times, got it going. And if you look at the stats for that game, if you go back to the video that I made after that game, in terms of stats, it's literally like we have 6 shots on goal, 6 shots, 5 of them on target, 4 of them by Zion Fleming, and 3 of them were a goal. And he basically carved those goals out for himself. That was literally Zion Fleming masterclass in scoring away goals, and more on that later. But that was a pretty incredible result, and it was a similar situation in terms of, as I've said, Preston are really bad at home, Millwall are really bad away. And what happened was, it wasn't easy, but we ended up winning that 4-2. So, something to think about there. If we go down and look at the strengths and weaknesses, you can see Millwall have got 3 very strongs, and Sunderland have got a lot of weaknesses here. And there you go. So they reckon, match forecast, Millwall will score from a set piece situation. Millwall will create many goal scoring chances. Sunderland will score a long shot. Millwall will dominate in the air. And Millwall will make a comeback if they go behind. I hope so. For the 884 fans travelling up. So let's have a look now at the prediction. What do you think they're going to say after all of that jazz? Let's just skip past this because they've got one Costa Rican player missing. Ross Stewart is the big one. He's one of their best players. Is he in? Is he out? He's coming back from injury. They might not start him. They might play him off the bench. So that is a problem. That may be a problem. If we go, is it here? No, it's not here. I don't know where I'm going. Okay, let's go back. Oh, here it is. Here it is. This one. He's their top scorer with 5 goals. Ross Stewart is. He's a pretty decent player, along with Jack Clark. So if he starts, it could be a problem, but we don't know. So Sunderland rounded off their pre-World Cup fixtures with a 2-1 away victory against Birmingham. Will be looking to claim a 3rd win in 4 league outings when they host Millwall on Saturday's standalone championship fixture. The Black Cats have lost back-to-back league games at the Stadium of Light heading into Saturday's clash. Millwall snuck their way into the playoffs before the international break with a blockbuster 4-2 away victory against Ryan Lowe's Preston side. The Lions have lost just one of their last 9 championship matches since the formation change, and will hope to pick up where they left off when they travel to Sunderland this weekend. And they predict Sunderland 1, Millwall 1. Would you be happy with that? Maybe, maybe not. Depends how it plays out. I think this is a game that we could be winning. Now, let's get on to David Prunn's prediction. Now, this is a bit different because I don't know if it's just because it's just the one game, but they've set this up kind of different. But before we get into Prunn's prediction, let's have a look at the pre-match stats from SkySports.com. This is the first league meeting between Sunderland and Millwall since the 2017-18 Championship campaign, with both games in that term ending in a draw. Millwall have lost just one of their last 6 meetings with Sunderland, a 1-0 loss at the Stadium in light of October 2004. So obviously that's most of them would have been at the Den. Sunderland have lost their last 2 home league games, having lost just one of their previous 14 before this. So they had lost one home game in 14, then they lose 2 in a row. Now the last time they lost 3 in a row was in April 2018. So that was at the end of the season, so probably their minds are not on it. Millwall are looking to win consecutive away league games for the first time since March, while they scored as many goals in their 4-2 win at Preston last time out as they had in their previous 7 on the road. Yes, this is what I'm looking for. Our away form has changed, it's turned, it's got better. We had our first away win since March at Bristol City. We had our first away clean sheet against Birmingham. We had the little slip up against Huddersfield, but we came back against Preston. We won 4-2, got a second away win. Have we turned the corner? Are we getting better? Or are we going to be up and down, up and down, up and down in our away games? If that's the case, we might be looking at a loss here. If we have gotten better, should be winning this. Should be. Now here is an interesting one. No player has scored more away goals in the Championship than Mills Zion Fleming with 5 away goals of his 8 total. The 24-year-old netting a hat-trick at Preston in his last such appearance. This is what we need to improve our away form. A player that can score goals away. Maybe suited for that kind of on the counter if the game's stretched. That's more his bag. Happy days. I wouldn't care if he only scored away game. If he just scores away, that's fine with me. He can get his 20 goals away from the Den. I'll still watch him at the Den, cheer for him at the Den. But yes, so let's get on to David Prime's prediction now. The Championship is back, sort of. It's not quite the full return of the second tier yet, but we have a little taster in the shape of Sunderland versus Millwall. A lot for Sunderland, depends on whether Ross Stewart is fit enough to start. Aside from that, it's hard to judge what shape either side are in after a few weeks away. With all that in mind, I'll go for a steady draw. Prime predicts Sunderland 1, Millwall 1. So yet again, standing on the fence, like the previous website, whoscored.com, they're both going for a 1-1 scoreline. I want to think that we can win this game. I hope that we win this game. It's not going to be easy. We've only won 3 times up there over the years. Obviously, one of our most famous wins of all. Probably one of the better games that I've been to in terms of atmosphere. Was the semi-final at Old Trafford on the 4th of the 4th. Tim Cahill scoring that goal. Was it Jamie McAteer who got sent off? Someone got sent off. Yeah, that's up there with one of the best games I've ever been to. It eclipsed the final by far. It's one thing playing in the FA Cup final, but when you win in the semi-final, you go into the final. That's it. That's what dreams are made of. And then you play in the final, in that game, your arse handed to you by a Man United side with Cristiano Ronaldo in it, and that's a different story. But winning against Sunderland, that was something to behold. So my prediction, I'm gonna go Sunderland 1, Millwall 3. Sunderland 1, Millwall 3. There you go. And on that note, thank you for watching, and goodbye.